Good morning. I'm Sunnyvale Mayor Larry Klein. Thanks for joining me again this week. Happy spring. I hope everyone's been having a good week. This is my 54th installment of my weekly virtual office hour address. So people continue to say that they appreciate these weekly live stream addresses and hearing from their mayor. I'll continue these through the end of shelter in place and probably a lot longer. We've now reached 375 days after the March 16th county health order started the shelter in place in an attempt to slow the spread of COVID-19. We've passed a year this past week, and it's been a year of missing our friends and family. Since that declaration, a lot's happened. More seems to happen every day. It's been a difficult year, but things are starting to open up, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. And people are starting to get their vaccines. A year ago, I thought it'd be a great idea to convert my weekly office hours at Bean Scene on downtown Murphy Avenue every Friday morning. And I've really missed those, in-person events, but I converted them into live stream to reach out to people. I think it really allows me to give you some general updates, answer some of your questions, which was always part of that coffee shop experience, and just provide some general words of encouragement. So, hopefully we definitely see light at the end of the tunnel. We just don't know how long that tunnel is. But thank you for allowing me to continue to represent you and work for Sunnyvale during these ever-changing times. I hope everyone's doing well, staying healthy. Please remember to take care of yourself both physically and mentally. Get outside and enjoy the fresh air when you can. These have been very difficult times, but please follow the county health orders. Do your part to stop the spread of the virus. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, reduce the number of people that you come in contact with when you're out. Maintain a safe social distance. Continue to, of course, wear your mask and get your vaccination when it's your time. And we'll be talking about vaccinations a little bit later. But do what you can, to slow the spread. Things are looking good as far as numbers, and we'll touch base on COVID and numbers a little bit later also. Let's go ahead and talk about what happened at the federal, state, county, and city level over the last 2 weeks. 2 Saturdays ago, I attended the Stop AAPI Hate rally in the San Jose Rotunda. And, I joined a lot of county leaders, leaders from all over the county, to basically put a spotlight on a certain amount of anti-Asian hate that's appeared in our communities. And I just want to thank, Assemblymember Evan Lowe and San Jose Council Member Pam Foley for bringing us all together. It was really a great event, but it's just so hard to see that hatred, the violence, and extremism that are not welcome in our community. Our strengths are, especially for Sunnyvale, is our diversity and our love, and your actions can make really a big difference. Do what you can. First off, please treat people with kindness. Speak up and stand up when you see injustice, and just treat others like you would like to be treated. That to me, I think, is the important thing. Spread kindness throughout our community and beyond its borders. It's really important at the end of the day to not and be welcoming, not put up with the anti-Asian sentiment that we've seen in our community in the last year. So a year ago we had when there was rhetoric at a national level that wasn't good. We had basically a resolution for against xenophobia. We have a similar resolution, which we'll be talking about later at our next council meeting. But it's really important. And today is actually Stop API Hate Day. So there's basically several rallies around the area as far as that's concerned, but it's a national effort today. Last Monday, of course, was Dunkin' Donuts grand opening, and so it was the first time I'd seen, several council members in person since the beginning of shelter in place. All of it was safe, socially distanced, and so it wasn't the same grand opening ribbon cutting that we normally have, but it was good to actually be out there and celebrate a new business coming to our city. So if you haven't had a chance to visit Dunkin', it's at El Camino near Maria, close to Wolf Road. So definitely, if you get a chance, drop by. There are a lot of people that grew up in the Midwest, grew up on the East Coast that are really overjoyed to actually have those donuts and especially that coffee. We have a little more variety of coffee here in the Bay Area, but definitely there are East Coasters that have really appreciated that being added to the fabric of our community, of our business community. Last Tuesday, Governor Newsom had a press conference and he finally talked about the recall, you know, and he's been doing, lots of his media tour around centers around California, and he's mainly ignored the recall when that's happened. But the deadline for submissions for the petition was last Wednesday, and they think they gathered around 2.1 million signatures. But of course, they need to still be verified to see whether or not we actually have a recall that they think would happen in sometime in the fall, August, September. And Newsom's really branded this as completely a Republican effort. Definitely, there's a lot of Republican money into the signature gathering effort, but gatherers say that a third of the signatures have come from Democrats and no party preference. Definitely, there's a lot of bad sentiment about the closure. Lots of issues, and not entirely due to Newsom. On a lot of disgruntled people, about the ever-changing vaccination distribution plans, the issues with EDD system. There's a lot of things that you can blame the governor on. It's not been an easy task from his standpoint. Uh, Speaker Pelosi came out today and said that she's hoping that no Democrat runs against in the recall campaign. That's what I think hurt Gray Davis several years ago, is there was actually a Democratic alternative, even though the Republican candidate, Governor Schwarzenegger, ended up winning. But we'll see where things go as far as that's concerned, as they continue to count those signatures. So we'll see. Last Tuesday evening, Sunnyvale City Council met on several things. We declared March as National Red Cross Month, and Red Cross has been doing a fantastic effort in our community and around the nation, around the world for many years. They are looking for blood donations, and so they have been able to convert that to completely safe, even under COVID-19. I gave last year. I haven't given this year yet, so it's about time for me to donate again. But if you are donating, definitely consider donating at Red Cross if you get a chance. We also, in that meeting, we authorized the city manager to execute a site agreement to install 4 EV chargers and these are fast charging stations at 3 different locations, one of which is the community center. So that really makes a lot of sense because we have, so many either staff or people coming to go to the historical society, to the arts center, to the gym, all that. The downtown parking lot, so 2 downtown parking lots, one of which is at Evelyn and Francis, and the other one at Evelyn and Sunnyvale Avenue. So there'll be 4 new EV charging stations in those 2 parking lots also. And then we continued our discussions about the redistricting ordinance. I think we finalized, what that ordinance is, and that'll be coming back to us later, actually next week. And then as for this week, things have quieted down a little bit. On Tuesday, the state declared that several counties would be transitioning from red for the red tier to the yellow tier. and that was San Francisco County, Santa Clara County, and Marin County. And then on Wednesday, Santa Clara County actually moved into the yellow tier, and that means things are really opening up. And we've seen our COVID cases and our ICU completely drop, and the ICU availability has increased dramatically. So things are really good from a county standpoint. And going into the yellow tier means several things. Retail stores will be opening to 100% capacity. Indoor dining is now allowed to a 50% capacity, or 50 or 200 people, whichever is fewer. And then indoor gyms, indoor pools, fitness centers can now also operate at 25% capacity. So that means, I already got, notices from several gyms that they've now reopened to a larger capacity. Movie theaters are now at a maximum of 50% capacity, or 200 people. And our AMC theater downtown is reopened a few weeks ago. So they are open for business. I haven't had a chance to make it back there yet, but I will be going back sometime soon. So that's actually good for that operator who opened up at a very difficult time last year, and has finally been able to reopen after being open in October. And then family entertainment centers are up to 50% capacity. Zoos, museums, aquariums are at 50% maximum capacity. So we do need to continue, everyone needs to continue to take precautions, as has been requested. Continue to wear your masks, wash your hands, maintain safe social distance. But it's really good that these are opening, and a lot of that has to do with our reduced COVID counts, as well as people being able to get vaccines. So all those are positive from that standpoint. And then on Wednesday, Governor Newsom announced his new Attorney General. And so, now Senator Padilla, our Attorney General, State Attorney General Padilla, has moved on to Washington. And so he announced Rob Bonta. And so Rob, I haven't met him. I've been in a conference where he was a speaker, but he was the first Filipino American in the California legislator. So he was assembly member for District 18, which is Oakland, Alameda, San Leandro. But he was also, before that, he served as assistant district attorney in San Francisco. So, it was good that the governor has finally chosen someone, now that Senator Padilla has taken that place. And I actually will be meeting with Senator Padillo's staff sometime in the next week. So it's good that they're basically coming up to speed and reaching out to local leaders. And yesterday, Thursday morning, Governor Newsom had a press conference, and it was a lot of good news as far as vaccines. We've administered about 5 million doses in the last week. We're mainly constrained by the manufacturing supply, as everybody knows. But the big announcement that the governor gave was they're extending eligibility, and so things are really changing. So right now, and that was one of the things that the governor has changed in the last month or two. It was frontline workers, and then it was people over 65, and then it was teachers, and so and so it's been ever increasing, but as of next Thursday, April 1st, no April Fool's joke here, anyone 50 and older will be allowed to get the vaccine. And then as of April 15th, which is 2 weeks later, everyone 16 and over will be able to get the vaccine. And so, and the governor also made, basically anyone that's coming in, family members can also get vaccinated if they're meeting that, if they're like caregivers for someone older in their family. But it's all around the supply of the vaccines. And the governor says his expectation in talking with the federal government is the manufacturing supply is going to dramatically increase. President Biden has already met his 100 million doses basically 100 days, and is conceivably shooting for 200 in his first 100 days in the office. So we'll see. But from a COVID positivity rate, we're down to about 2% positivity, which is far way better than it was 2 months ago. So we see our COVID numbers continue to drop down, as things go, and then getting the vaccines. It's great, as far as setting these new eligibility levels. I do worry that we're still having issues in meeting equity, just getting people that are already qualified, getting vaccines to them. I've heard lots of issues with the state's My Turn system. I was reading online today and communicating to somebody who's 71, who's been waiting for My Turn to the state's My Turn system to basically give them an update that she can actually get vaccinated, and she still hasn't been able to get vaccinated. Definitely, there are vaccines out there. CVS, Walgreens have capability. And the from a county standpoint, we've been in a little bit of a fight with the state trying to get more vaccines here. The state tried to have new definitions based upon equity of the 400 zip codes. That being said, that would mean and part of our problem is, even some of our zip codes have some census tracts that have very, basically low income people that are at risk, that would conceivably qualify from a need from an equity standpoint, but the rest of the zip code doesn't meet whatever the state requirements are. So we've been, from a county standpoint, we've been really working to try to negotiate with the state on how to best give us more vaccines, so that and this is the issues with the state and Blue Shield, and some issues with that management, but definitely we've gotten less vaccines to distribute to some of our areas of equity in East San Jose and South County, and we have areas in Sunnyvale, in Santa Clara, and Mountain View that have been really hit, that have a large Latino population that definitely need it and haven't been able to get vaccines out there, haven't been able to do pop-up systems as far as that's concerned. The governor also talked about our schools, and about 9,000 of the 11,000 schools are now open or have set a date to open, and that might be hybrid, that might be partial. Definitely schools are in session. Please be careful when you're out driving in the mornings and the afternoons. Some of the schools are doing half-day sessions, so mixing up hybrid. So we see a lot more students at different times of the day. As far as also we have our crossing guards that we've activated that are also doing a certain amount of efforts as far as making sure that our kids are safe. But if you're out driving, definitely please be careful, keep an eye out for our children. And then let's go ahead and get to the health information as far as testing. So from a national standpoint, we've now surpassed 29.8 million cases. So we'll soon be passing 30 million positive cases of COVID from a national standpoint. That was up about 400,000 in the last week. And nationally, we've surpassed 133 million vaccines administered. So that's been very positive. So we'll see, if those numbers continue to improve. I know that they've been working with Pfizer, with with all Johnson and Johnson, all the different vaccine producers trying to get as much vaccines produced and into and distributed within the U.S. as possible. From California standpoint, we've had 3.5 million cases, positive cases, and we're now down to only about 2,500 new cases, positive cases a day. So, that's dramatically dropped. And so we're not seeing that 3.5 million increase as it was every week, for the last year, and especially for the last few months. And California has now had just over 57,000 fatalities. So, and I know multiple people who've been affected with a death of someone in their family. So, please, my heart goes out to anyone who's been directly affected by that. It is, it's sobering to think of how many people we've lost since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. On a positive note, we've vaccinated almost 16 million people from a California standpoint. So those numbers continue to move up. And even though we have vaccinated a lot, we're still kind of middling when you start comparing our population to how many people we vaccinated compared to other states. So we're like number 27 on states with that have distributed at least one dose. So that's around 27% of the population has had one dose. We're close to number 40 on residents that are fully vaccinated. So only about 14% of our residents have been fully vaccinated. And I think that'll be changing more as we get the Johnson and Johnson vaccines as opposed to the 2 shots that are required on others. From a county standpoint, things continue to trend downward, so that's really positive. We've now had about 14,000 positive COVID-19 cases. That's only 800, which is amazing when you look back. 800 from a week ago. A month ago we were 1,000, 1,000 every week, or 1,500 every week, and 2 months ago we were about 4,000 or 7,000 from a week-to-week basis. So from a positivity standpoint, things are looking much better. And then currently we have only 24 people hospitalized due to COVID. That's way down from 200 about a month ago and about 350, 400 about 2 months ago. And then by the city, city by city, San Jose has now had 75,000 positive cases of COVID-19. That's up about 500 from last week. And then Sunnyvale has had 5,291 cases. That's only 40 new cases in the last week. So we're doing a lot better. We had about 60 a month ago, and we had about 200 on a week-to-week basis, 200 about 2 months ago. So that's also dramatically dropped. So it's all good news as far as getting back to normal, getting back to any normal is concerned. It's getting vaccines. It's making sure that people are doing what they need to do as far as wearing masks and making sure that things are good and people are safe. So thanks for all your efforts. And as far as what I'm doing, I continue to do a lot of advocating, on our city's behalf. At a county level, I have, multiple discussions with county health and the county supervisors every week. So as from a testing standpoint, we've had the mobile county pop-up van at Murphy Park, and they're here on the second and fourth Mondays from 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And they were back here this past Monday. They'll be back here twice in April. And so if you want to get tested there or anywhere around the county, you can go to sccfreetest.org and you can get sign up to get your appointment to get vaccinated, or to get tested. I got tested this week, and that was positive. So that was good results. That those results came back negative. I'm out, meeting people. Always masked up, always double masked, but it's good. Every few weeks I get tested just to make sure that I am not COVID positive. And then if you want to get the vaccine, if you're qualified, and a lot of people will be getting qualified, you can always go to sccfreevax.org and sign up there from a county standpoint. You can go to myturn.org from a state standpoint. And then, of course, you can go directly to CVS or Walgreens, those sites also. And so the part of the issue is there's a lot of different places where you can get these vaccines, but you know, it's lots of different, and they're not all tied into one system. So, for the Walgreens and the CVS vaccines come from the federal government, the county and the state, they basically come from the federal government and go to the states and then get distributed based upon Blue Shield's distribution orders. So this is some of the issues that we've been dealing with. And so, it hasn't been easy for some people, but hopefully, as we get more and more people that are eligible to take vaccine, hopefully we'll start seeing more vaccines appear in our county. But that we'll see where we stand 2 weeks from now. I'm hoping to get vaccinated when it's my turn. And yeah, there are people that have asked. It's like, well, you're a politician, aren't you able to get the vaccine? No, that hasn't been the case. It's I know people that not politicians that I think have moved up in the line and got vaccinated. I didn't think it was right to get vaccinated before my time. So, but I will be vaccinated. I will, hopefully be meeting people again face to face, outside of Zoom meetings and other Teams meetings and all that. But I look forward to seeing people again and interacting. That's been one of the best things about my mayor's restaurant project. The If you go to eatsunnyvale.com, you can see almost 200 restaurants now that I've reviewed, Sunnyvale restaurants that have been open during COVID-19, and happy to talk to the owners and happy to hear residents that are still following in the mayor's footsteps. So I'll be posting some of those in the next new locations in the next few days. And now let me go ahead and announce some upcoming events. So on Monday, Sunnyvale Planning Commission will review the special development permit for 2 7-story office buildings at Macy's. So at the Macy's location. So this will be 7 stories, but it'll be first floor will be retail. It's about 50,000 square foot of retail. It'll be about 22,000 of flexible space, and then 37,000 square foot of shared services. So it'll have 2 below grade parking levels. And so you'll see, and I think one of the big features will be kind of an extension of Francis. So from the Caltrain station going down Francis, and then the 2 buildings will basically create a South Francis street there that will lead to kind of a big atrium that'll go directly into Redwood Square. So I've seen some initial designs, and if you want to get what that'll look like, if you want to comment, you can always join the Sunnyvale Planning Commission meeting on Monday night starting at 7 p.m. On Tuesday night, March 28th, City Council will meet, and at 5 p.m. we'll be talking about Moffett Park again. We've had this series of outreach sessions, so we had 3 sessions over the last few months, and if you go to moffatparksp.com, you can see those videos. But we're going to have about a 2-hour study session, and it'll be talking about potential land use concepts. So I know that several of the developers have been working with city staff on different kind of layouts of how Moffett Park could be done. And what we're doing is looking at, housing, adding retail as well as office space in Moffett Park. And, I was on the planning commission when that was approved, that Moffett Park specific plan was approved about 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago now. But at that point, we talked about, would housing be allowed out there? And it wasn't seen as viable. But 20 years later, creating communities, kind of planning has changed quite a bit, and the need for housing, the need for retail in northern Sunnyvale is something that we're really looking at. So it'll be an opportunity if you want to join us at 5 p.m. to watch that study session. And then at 7 p.m. we'll have our general meeting, but we'll start that off with several orders of the day. April is Fair Housing Month, so we'll be talking about that. There'll be Library Week, so kind of kicking off reading and Library Week. And then one of the things that April is also Poetry Month. And one of the mayor's privileges is to figure out if they want to add special orders of the day. I'm a big, proponent for the arts, whether or not that's sculpture or murals, but poetry is a big thing, and so we're going to have one of the local students come in and read a poem, so that should be good. As far as general business, we'll be adopting a resolution to denounce anti-Asian hate, and then that was kind of reflected on a resolution that was passed at the county level and also from the Cities Association of Santa Clara County. And then we'll be establishing, we'll finally introduce the ordinance to establish the public process for redistricting. So last year we approved splitting the city into 6 districts, and we also elected our first 3 district council members. But because we also had the 2020 census, and we'll be getting that data. Looks like the beginning of the fall, end of summer, hopefully. But that means that we also need to, based upon our new numbers, redistrict Sunnyvale, the district boundaries for those 6 districts accordingly. So that ordinance will define that public process. And then we'll also approve the distribution of our community development block grants. So you might have heard of CDBG. These are federal funds, all based upon population. And so we'll be distributing those to several of the nonprofits that make a big difference, within the city. Let's see. One of the things I also wanted to announce is the city currently has a food cycle survey. And so we're checking in with single family residents that we kicked off the food cycle program about 4 years ago now. And it's trying to get your feel for, how you feel about the food cycle program, the food waste, how often do you use it? Do you participate at all? But, if you get a chance, and I posted about this earlier, you can go to fill out the survey, and the deadline is next Wednesday, March 31st. And if you can go to the city website, or you can take a look at my Facebook page to find out, a link to that survey. And then on Wednesday, April 27th, from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., Sunnyvale will have a unity event for basically AAPI solidarity. And, there's been as I mentioned, an alarming increase in the anti-Asian hate incidents across the nation, and even, in our county, which is actually surprising, and there's been some high profile hate crimes in the Bay Area, a mass shooting in Atlanta, and it's just hiding the fear in our Asian community. So, today, of course, is virtual day of action for Stop Asian Hate, to basically condemn those acts. But Sunnyvale really takes pride in our incredible diversity. And people from around the world, all cultures, all nations, you are welcome here. So on April 7th, we'll be having that virtual gathering to uplift the voices and concerns of our Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Um, this bigotry, this hate isn't new. In 2019, just about, you know, 2 years ago this month, we came together to acknowledge, actually, uh, to, about 2 years ago, April, so next month, we came together to acknowledge that hate and fear exist in our community and to heal after the horrific hate crime that occurred about almost 2 years ago today, that occurred in our community. But and that was an in-person unity event, and I was really happy with all the different members of our community that came out to represent, our Indian community, our Muslim community, and all different, the Zen Center. It was a lot of different faiths there to talk about, bigotry and try to find, focus on love and light and try to find our path forward. In 2020, of course, we had a similar series of unity events. We had a series of listening sessions to discuss systemic racism and how it disproportionately impacts our Black community. But now we stand in solidarity with our Asian community members. It's really important that we pull together to acknowledge and discuss and address hate and bigotry in our community. So this will all be virtual. It'll be via Zoom. You'll be able to register to say. So it's a mixture of a panel discussion as well as hearing from our community. And our featured speakers will include Richard Kanda from the Asian Law Alliance, Sarita Cole from the Asian Americans for Community Involvement, Supervisor Lee, so he used to be, Sunnyvale mayor and now is our county supervisor, our county district attorney, Jeff Rosen, and Chief No from our Sunnyvale Department of Public Safety are just a few of the speakers. So if you can join us, please do so. That'll be basically a week from this coming Wednesday, so about a week and a half from now, that event will be going on, and that'll be all online. Let's go ahead and move to our weekly questions, and I got quite a few questions this week. If you ever need to send me a question, if you have a question that you'd like the mayor to answer, send them to council at Sunnyvale. Sorry, let's not do council at larryklein.com. And that's the easiest way to send me questions. You can always, put them on my social media feed, and I'll get to them. I answer some questions live depending upon how much time we have. Vicky asked, how do you accommodate seniors who have no computers or don't know how to use a computer? Is this information on TV? And that was a great question. So I want to thank you, Vicky. So I reached out to KMVT, our local public access channel 15, and starting tomorrow, so starting Saturday, my Friday morning virtual office hour live stream address will be rebroadcast Saturday nights at 7 p.m. So if you have friends who don't like to use Facebook or who don't know how to use computers, they can go to Channel 15, Comcast, local broadcast station, and they can watch a replay of this on a weekly basis moving forward. So they did find me a time slot, and I'm happy that people will be able to not just see this on their computers, but see it on their TV if they don't have access to a computer. So that, thank you, Vicky, for asking that question. It was on my list of things to do for a long time, but the mayor's list gets pretty long at times, and I just some things just never get to. So I appreciate you kind of nudging me to reach out to KMVT and see what they could do. So a year into COVID-19 and doing this for, now 54 times, it's finally making it easier for those that to get some of that information. Another question. Robert asked, does going to the orange tier mean businesses are going to welcome customers to use their restrooms? And definitely there have been some questions during shelter in place, and especially when restaurants were only doing takeout and delivery, that people would come and want to use their restrooms, and then when we allowed al fresco dining, and so that was one of the things that closing down Murphy Avenue, restaurants were having outdoor seating, but ultimately they weren't allowing customers to go inside to use the restrooms, some of them. And so now that we've allowed indoor dining, and with the orange tier, that was 25% indoor dining. With the red tier, it's 50% indoor dining. At least all the restaurants that I checked with, and I checked with multiple, I checked with my standards, and they are allowing people to use the restrooms. They understand that, especially if you're indoors, and the county, the state is allowing you to be indoors. It only makes sense that you can go have access to the restroom. So at least as far as I see, a lot of the restaurants have now opened that up. Laura asked, can you provide advice about who we should contact to address an influx of garbage built up in the Sunnyvale East Channel area? Almost every weekend, my family pick up a few bags of trash from the flat surrounding the channel, but we don't feel safe climbing down into the water, and I can't fit all the trash down there in our home's garbage bin. So is the garbage pickup the responsibility of the city or the water district? So first, I just want to thank you, Laura, for cleaning up your neighborhood. And I've heard this from multiple residents, especially during COVID. A lot of people are taking walks, getting some exercise. I know of multiple people that have been masked up that walk around, go on 2 to 3 or 4 mile walks with their grabber in hand and a garbage bag with them, picking up garbage where they go. So thank you for making Sunnyvale a more beautiful place. But yeah, Laura, the Valley Water, of course, has that responsibility. So if garbage does fall into the East Channel, the West Channel, that's their responsibility. Stevens Creek. So Valley Water has a pollution hotline that you should be able to always contact. It's a 24-hour hotline, and their number is 888-510-5151. And I had city staff, basically forward your email on to Valley Water, so that hopefully somebody will get into the East Channel and collect that garbage. But thank you for pointing that out. Dale asked, is it true that many migrants who have crossed over southern border will be transported to NASA at Moffett Field? I heard that on the news. So definitely, I was in contact with NASA prior to the announcement that the Department of Health and Human Services has requested federal agencies to determine whether or not they currently have vacant properties that might be available or suitable, to as potential locations for the influx care facilities for unaccompanied migrant children. And to me, there has been an increase at our borders, and what we can do to try to make sure that we house those children, however we can, to make sure that they're safe, is really critical. That being said, HHS and NASA did an assessment of the vacant property at Moffett Field, and there are houses, there are apartments out there, and usually they're used for interns. So summer interns that come and work at NASA are normally housed there. Ultimately, it was decided that wouldn't be a good location. There wasn't a big press release on that, but I did confirm with NASA this week. There were some concerns about, at least some of the perceptions because that Moffett Field is still considered a Superfund site. So whether or not it would have been in the child's best interest, in the minor's best interest to be housed at a Superfund site wasn't seen to be, of course, the best thing. So ultimately, the government decided not to house any of the unaccompanied minors at Moffett Field. So, George asked, do you have a projected end date for the city Civic Center project completion? And so phase one of that is ongoing right now. Phase one includes an addition onto the public safety building. So you see that the parking lot in front of public safety has been closed down. So that'll be a two-story addition onto there. And then a new city hall. So they've been moving the trees in front of to basically along Olive. So between the existing city hall and where the new city hall will be along Olive, they've been moving those trees to other locations, those that have been movable, to other locations on the Civic Center site. And so you might have seen some of that. They're now digging out the underground parking that will go under our new city hall. So that's moving forward rapidly. It should actually be opening, we think, in fall of 2022. So about less than 18 months from now, that should be open. So things are progressing very, very well as far as that's concerned. Definitely the new building is, LEED platinum and net zero energy. It's really iconic to a certain degree, but what was important was we were able to maintain the old building, and people, so this will ultimately mean that the Nova buildings, the kind of the rabbit hutches next to the library, will be torn down, and all those people will be able to move into the new city hall. The people, the staff that are working in the trailers just south of the current city hall building, and then the people that have been doubled up in our city hall building will actually be able to go into a new building by the end of 2022. So that'll be positive. The concept is keep everything open, open up the new city hall, and then do deconstruction, tear down the other buildings, the old annex, the old city hall, in the finally to try to make sure that things are going well. Chris asked, when is Hanabusa opening? So Hanabusa is a Japanese souffle pancake that is kind of a rage. They're in their final steps. That will be opening up at the old Starbucks at the corner of Mary and Washington. And so they're getting their final approvals from the county, but we should hear something in the next week or so. So hopefully we'll have a date as far as that's concerned. Several people ask, will mass vaccination sites open in Sunnyvale? There have been some small sites. So if you go to the county webpage, you'll see that there's a site that El Camino Hospital and LinkedIn have put up. The problem is they're not getting enough vaccines, so they're not up to full capacity. From a county standpoint, we've been able to, we could be distributing 200,000 vaccines a week. We've been only been getting about a quarter or about a third of that, so about 60,000 a week. So ultimately, that has been the biggest issue as far as getting vaccines and having them distributed within Sunnyvale. As vaccines become more available, definitely this vaccine site will get more use. But if you go to sccfreevax.org, you can actually see all the different locations where you can sign up to get your vaccination appointment. And that Sunnyvale location is one of those, and I'm happy that El Camino Hospital and LinkedIn basically offered to do that. So it's really good as far as that's concerned. I've had some questions about asking the mayor to work with the school districts to open them up, and definitely some of the school districts are back in school. They're working on that. By the middle of April, all grades should be in school, and that includes the high schools. So I've been talking to Sunnyvale School District, Fremont Union, Cupertino Union. So the different our school districts that are part of Sunnyvale, the superintendents, the school board members, and they're in the process of ramping up people, at least hybrid in some ways, but by the middle of April, all grades should be back in school. And so it's been a big effort, trying to make sure, it's a logistical effort because dealing with both hybrid and in person isn't easy, but it's important that and there's that division between the city and the school districts, but happy to continue to work with them, see what the city can do. We reactivated our crossing guards, and so ultimately the kids are getting back to school. Things are getting back to some sort of normal as far as that's concerned. It's almost 10 o'clock, so let's go ahead and wrap up. I just want to thank you for joining me again this week. And if this is your first time watching, whether or not it's on TV or watching the video, I just want to thank you. As always, I'm proud of Sunnyvale's response to the pandemic. Life continues to be difficult for all of us. New issues come up almost every week, but your actions, your response make a world of difference. Continue to wear your mask. Get your vaccine when it's your time. That's one of the best things you can do. But also continue to help others, especially during trying times. I'm proud to see Sunnyvale residents pulling together to help others in need. And I also see, building a community, and whether or not that's the 5 o'clock wave. You might have seen that article, that news article earlier this week, that residents have been doing that. Sunnyvale neighborhoods have been doing that since the beginning of the shelter in place. It's just, it's making that connection, which has really been lost in the last year. If you're out on a walk, wave, say hello to people from a safe social distance. Sunnyvale will emerge from this as a stronger community. We're in this together, and we will get through this together. Thanks for listening. If you're celebrating Passover, have a good Seder. And for those of you celebrating Holy, may you have a very colorful weekend. I know it's not what people would like with the sheltering in place, but hopefully your efforts will make a difference, and we'll be back to normal this time next year. To everyone, wear your mask, stay safe, have a great week. Take care. Goodbye.